We good? Hey, Coach. You there?
Fellas, how you doing?
Hey, how are you doing? Big weekend.
Doing
How you
good.
feeling after the weekend?
On to the next.
I love
And,
that. On to the next. You got
yeah,
UNO on Tuesday, right?
correct. Up there, yes.
We were talking. I know you on to the next. I know but let's recap a little bit of this weekend. I going into the series, we had talked a lot about there's so much parity in the SEC, and especially in the SEC West, where everybody seems like they're a game or two away from each other. And going into this weekend series, you had Missouri coming home, and I felt like it was a winnable series and a sweepable series. Obviously you can't take anybody for granted. Did the message change going into this weekend of saying, hey, this is an important weekend series to be able to catch up and stay in contention with Arkansas?
Not really. I mean, when you look at their team, I actually think they have 3 or 4 major league players on their team, and their RPI coming into the weekend was 24, so it was a top 25 RPI
Right.
series. And you looked at how they started out the SEC play. I believe their first 3 weekends were Vanderbilt, Arkansas, and Tennessee.
That's
And
tough.
so I don't know that anybody's had a tougher schedule or road than those guys. And so really all of these, we're looking at them exactly the same way. I think it's important to build that kind of thought discipline in our team. And just pleased that we played well, and pleased that we came out on the front end or the right end of some close games.
Coach, before the season started, we talked a lot about, or say we, everyone outside, and you really included, mentioned that you were going to be deep in the as far as the pitching staff goes. The bullpen's deep, but you didn't know who was going to step up and how it was going to shape out. The bullpen has been unbelievable for you, and this weekend they didn't disappoint, and they did the exact same things they've been doing. As they bridged the gap to the end of the game, and Sunday they had to extend some guys and. Talk about how important the bullpen has been, and talk about the job that the pitching staff and the pitching coaches have done.
Yeah, they've done a great job. I mean, you can't win at the highest level of Division I baseball without elite pitching, in my opinion. I think how we're doing it is a little bit different based on the personnel that we have. I was wondering yesterday when the last time LSU swept a SEC series. The Saturday starter didn't get out of the 3rd inning, and the Sunday starter didn't get out of the second. And it's a little, like I said, it's a little different way to do it, but I think it fits our guys, the style, their strengths, all those types of things. It's kind of the old Tampa Bay Rays opener kind of approach, to be honest with you. And they're just doing an incredible job of picking each other up. I think inherited runners not scoring is a big part of winning. We've driven that home from the time that we've gotten here. We trained them in that in the fall, and it's honestly worked out better than I could have even imagined. And they deserve a lot of credit for that. Coach Kelly deserves a lot of credit for that. He does a great job with the pitch calling. I try to do as much work as I can on game planning of who fits where with who. And so we don't even really have a closer, to be honest with you. It's just like kind of where are we setting guys in a lineup? Who do we want to face? What keeps the game close? We have a very good offense that can score quickly. And so you just want to keep it to where the game is manageable, and our pitchers have done a really good job of that.
So this next question is two parts to this next question. One, you talked about inherited runners and not allowing them to score. I feel like, watching Riley Cooper, I feel like you put him in situations that are it's kind of like the nut cutting time. Like he has to go there and he has to make a big pitch and he has to make a play, and he always seems to do it. And I guess the second part of it is the way you manage your bullpen is a way, it's like a major league manager would manage their bullpen. And kudos to you, because in college that's a hard thing to do with younger kids and putting guys in these types of situations. And so I just wanted to kind of give you your flowers on that, because the way you are going in there and playing matchups and doing those things that you have to do to win games, it's refreshing to see that kind of translate into the college game.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Like I said, we just really try to prepare, and starts with recruiting. Coach Maneri was very helpful when I got here of the pieces he thought we needed to get a chance to have a chance to compete this year. And obviously the depth of the pitching staff and the bullpen was a big part of it. So in this summer to be able to pick up, Riley Cooper, as you mentioned, Bryce Collins, and Paul Gervais and Eric Reiselman. I mean, that completely changed the outlook of what we had as a pitching staff. And so it just allows you the flexibility to do two things: put the players in position to be successful, and then you don't have to ask anybody to do too much. And then we've had some guys step up. Obviously, Mikhail Hilliard, has been able to shorten some of these weekends, right, so we can take the rest of the guys and spread them out accordingly. They've done a great job at bouncing back. They've done a great job at collecting outs in less than 30 pitches. Eric the other day went 2 2/3 in like 29 pitches. And when you do that, it allows them, the opportunity to pitch 2 and 3 times a week, which is good. So I'm very happy with how it's come together. And like I said, just trying to keep the game within striking distance, kind of till that top of the order comes back up. They've done a great job at that.
Yeah, you mentioned the top of the order. Obviously, everybody coming into the season knew how good, especially the top part of the lineup was going to be. I don't think anybody realized that Braden Jobert was going to have 12 or 13 home runs at this point in the season. I don't think people realized that Pearson and Stevenson were going to give you big time at bats in the end of some of these games. To me, and I know you've mentioned some of it, Cade Doughty has been, nobody talks about him, and I don't think it's not fair to him because he is unbelievable to me. I think he has been steady Eddie, and he has come up with some enormous hits. Obviously, he had the walk-off. Talk about how much of a leader he's been, how good he's been for your team, and then talk about how good those freshmen have been. You've thrown them out there, and you're leading Pearson off, and Stevenson comes up with the big double. It just seems like everything's starting to kind of find its way and start to click.
Yeah, in terms of Cade, I mean, when I took the job, obviously it was LSU, but I had some hopes for this roster, and I remember recruiting him or seeing him when he was 15 years old. Obviously, a guy that lives 20 minutes from LSU isn't going to go to Arizona, right. But I remember how good a player that Cade was. It always struck me as kind of a hard-nosed, tough-minded kid, and you don't always find that with talented guys. And so he's been as important to our overall success as any player on the roster. He's the one guy, like, I think we're going to get a good chunk of this team back in 2023. Man, I'd love to. I wish we could. If we could start working on an NIL deal or something. Yeah. But he's going to be a first-round pick, in my opinion. I definitely think he is a major league player someday. But his tools are matched by his competitiveness and certainly a good building block, type player. And then as far as the freshman, I could really see it coming with Josh Pearson. I had to kind of bring him in and say, hey, look, like, you probably should play more than you're going to at the outset here, but we have to kind of figure this out and, try to get everybody at bats to kind of see where our best team fits. And he just kept taking good at bats. And he's got power, hit a couple home runs at Mississippi State, huge 2-out RBI in the bottom of the 8th inning the other day. He will walk. So I think he's a really, really complete player. Is a hitter. He's done a great job defensively in right field too. Like, that wasn't part of his skill set, I thought, in the fall that was very good. He's more than adequate out there. And then Josh Stevenson, really big lift for our team. If I had one gripe, I don't think we're overly athletic, and sometimes it kind of limits some of the things that we can do. And he has some good speed and athleticism. He's got some twitch in the bat, which is allowing him to get to some fastballs. And so he's in line with the type of player, I hope that we'll see more and more of, as we go through our time here. But he's doing a really good job. They're both going to have some growing pains, and those will continue, but they're managing them really, really well.
Yeah, you mentioned right field. To me, because I play a little bit of right and center, to me, right field at LSU is one of the hardest positions to play because you have that stupid hill of a mound on the field,
yeah,
and you have the sun right in your face. It's a tough place to play right field, and he's done it. You're right. He's done a very, very good job of handling that. I want to ask you a little bit about this. So you came obviously from Arizona, came from the Pac-12 into the SEC. I know leading up into the season, you've played SEC teams before, but you've never really coached obviously a full season. Did you have expectations coming into the season of like maybe what to expect and how the season was going to be, and has that changed, or has that been right on par with what you have thought coming in with 4 series left into the year?
Yeah, I would equate it to this. It's a super regional every single weekend is kind of what I would say. I mean, the 2 times we went to Omaha, we beat SEC to go to Omaha, but it's a lot different in that one-shot deal versus, these series just keep kind of coming at you. And, it's interesting because a couple of the teams, and I kind of knew it going in, were a lot better than maybe they'd been advertised. And I think it's starting to play out and people are seeing that. But there's no let up in the schedule. And so really I don't think about who's next. It's just like we take them as they come. You're going to take some lumps here and there, and just being really consistent in our mindset and being really consistent in trying to push the players towards improving is really all I'm trying to do. Because if you look too far down the road, or I got to do this or we got to do that, it doesn't help them play better. In fact, it actually just complicates it. So they've done a nice job of staying focused on what's in front of them, and we're going to have to continue to do that because it certainly doesn't let up the next few weeks.
Absolutely. One of the things that happens down here in Baton Rouge is we don't have a professional baseball team, so the media and everybody kind of, it's LSU baseball is basically the professional team of Louisiana. And so there's a lot more added eyeballs and a lot more pressure. And there's been a lot to be said. There's been a lot of rumblings about the defense and all of these different things. And, from watching it, I think the defense has gotten better and has progressively gotten better. And I'm sure, it's not up to your standards yet, but you could tell that it is progressing. How have you helped? Now, I don't know if this is an internal thing with the players or if it's just something that it happens with everyone. But, when you hear a lot of noise like that, it's tough, especially being a younger guys and guys that aren't used to hearing that. How did you help the guys get through that? And how did y'all, you work together to, basically keep moving forward and not let it affect them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, I'm not really surprised by that. I think I came in with a pretty good idea of what this place was like. I'm a huge college football fan, paid attention to that and the environment of the SEC and all of those kinds of things. No program in college baseball has more eyeballs on it or more passionate fans than LSU. I think what I try to get them to is none of that stuff helps us play better. And the bottom line is the goal of everybody is for us to play better and to win. That's your goal. That's my goal. That's the fans' goal. But if you pay attention to negativity or maybe what people on the outside that don't have the internal perspective say, it's taking you away from playing better. And so, why would we give it time, thought, or attention, especially when maybe that perspective isn't the one that's going to help you? And so we kind of hit it, head on, from that standpoint. I don't worry about it as a 45-year-old head coach, as a player. Sometimes they can, it affects them, and it doesn't always affect them in a positive way. But I'm proud of our players, for just staying the course and doing what we need to do. And I think we've won 8 of our last 12 or 9 of our last 12. And you would think, with the series at Arkansas, the world was going to end, for some of them. And you just can't go about it that way. And the other thing that I try to remind them is, this place is phenomenal to play home games at. Mm-hmm. I mean, and we're 21-5 at home. You cannot have it both ways, where you have a ruckus, into it, passionate fan base is supporting you, that's getting on their feet when you get a big 2-out hit, and not have a little criticism. That's unfair. They want you to do well. They support you when you do well. So you're going to have to kind of wear it once in a while when it doesn't go good. But let's just focus on the things that are going to help us play better, because that's ultimately what everybody wants.
For sure. Social media has done it's kind of, expedited, and it's made those criticisms a lot louder, more so than it has been when I was there. But, it's a real thing. It's a hard thing. The pressure's a hard thing. Let's move on to Georgia a little bit. I know you don't want to look too far ahead, and I know you don't want to get into, moving past an opponent. I know you have UNO on Tuesday, but what are some of the problems that Georgia poses for you coming into this weekend? Because they're a top 25 team. I feel like every team in the SEC is. And they're coming, and you have to go ahead and kind of keep that momentum rolling. What problems do you see, or what do you see that they're good at or not so good at?
Yeah, they're actually number 3 in the RPI, that's the ranking that matters in terms of postseason and just getting into the NCAA tournament or hosting or any of those types of things. The starting pitching, Jonathan Cannon, who's probably arguably the best pitcher in college baseball, he had been out for a couple weeks. He came back last week against Alabama and threw 5 no-hit innings. So we'll have to deal with him. Nolan Crisp, one of their other starters, has a really good arm. Offensively, they have some guys that really hit mistakes well, can hurt you with one-type swing. So those are probably the things that stand out. I mean, I'll look at that a lot closer throughout the week, and we'll have a real good idea of what we need to do to win. But one thing I've really tried to hammer to these players here this year is it's not who we play, it's how we play. And, this has been a good team. Our team's been good at picking one phase the other up. And when you're going through the SEC and the other teams are talented too, that's the way it's going to go. You're not going to score 10 every game. You're not going to throw a shutout every game. So I'm pleased with that part of it, and we're going to have to continue to do that here on the back end of the schedule and into the postseason.
It seems like being an outsider, kind of watching it from TV and following it pretty closely. It just seems like the more chippy the game gets, the better the guys play, right? You feel like they have a little bit more fire. The pitching staff sometimes has a lot of that energy, and you can feel it carry over to the offense. The offense kind of has it, and to me, that's a sign of a great team, because you can't just go into games without having that type of competitiveness and that type of fire, and to see it. And start with Florida, and then there's other things that happen throughout the course of the year. I'm like, man, you just gotta piss these guys off, and they play really, really, really well.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Baseball as a baseball guy, it's a 56-game schedule. It's about the play. The pitcher has so much to do with it. There's no magic bullet of like, hey, we're fixed, we're turned around. I mean, obviously there's been no better example of us than us. We get swept at Mississippi State, got swept at Arkansas, came home and swept. It's about the play. One thing that we're trying to drive home is winning can never be more important to the other team than it is to us. And I'd give us a B plus on that grade. I mean, there's 2 games on the schedule this year where I didn't feel like we brought that edge or that intensity. The rest of them, it's been pretty good. Like it's been about the play. When we've played well, we've won. When we haven't against a good opponent, we haven't. And so they want to win. They want to be successful. They're putting in the time to improve and do that. And as far as the edge or the chippiness back and forth, it's all over baseball right now. I mean, the pitcher is trying to celebrate the strikeout before the umpire is even called strike 3. We got bat flipping on balls that are getting caught at the warning track. So,
oh no, it's out of control.
I think it's just the way it is now, and we want to have fun. Like I want the team to want to be at this field and competing with each other more than they want to be anywhere doing anything else. So I'm not going to be holding any of that stuff back. We're gonna play with that edge, and we want to be excited about winning, and we want to celebrate winning.
I love that.
Yeah, you mentioned wanting to celebrate winning. Coach, what was the stipulations? Get the boombox in the dugout. We got a little fire going for the boys, a little juice in there.
Yeah, so...
Seems like that was your idea.
Yeah, that's your idea, Coach, no doubt.
No, 1,000%. Saturday morning, I don't even remember who it was. Somebody came up and asked me about, hey, can we play a song when we score a run? I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, and I just said, hey, whosever idea is this, if there's any cuss words or there's anything inappropriate or it gets out of hand, the equipment manager's fired and the person.
What did I
do? If you can keep it under control and have fun with it, like. Hey, man, if you want to get a DJ in here, I'm all good with that if that's going to help us score 10 to 15 runs.
Hey, I love it. It gave me some juice. I liked it. It was great. That's you need that. You need something to rally the troops.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does this thing take it on the road? Are we going to road boombox, or is it only for home games?
I guess it's to be determined, but with some
that
of
thing's
these
making
guys,
its way on the bus, dude, no doubt.
We'll make bus tomorrow. Yes,
I love that. Coach, Listen, I know your time's valuable. I appreciate you coming on and talking to us. I'm gonna let you go. I know I'm sure you've got some game planning to go on and get the boys into the field. But I appreciate this. This is awesome. I'm a huge fan of y'all's. Obviously, I keep up, and I'm gonna keep it up throughout the course of the weekend and course of the postseason. So thanks for coming on, Coach, and good luck.
You got it. Thanks for having me. Take care, guys.
Yep.
Stud.
Stud.
Great answer.
Stud.